Yeah, we
And
went
then
crazy for Halloween. And then
What life?
we were like, oh, November, election month, we should do something. And then, like, Thanksgiving, Christmas, family occasions, birthdays, it all just piled up and we never did it. So now that we're under a new administration, we are back at it and we can
We're making our
hopefully.
channel great again.
Yes, we are.
We live in the age of remasters and reboots. The Last of Us Part 2 came out in 2020 on the PS4, and it's already getting remastered 4 or 5 years later. We live in the age of fast remasters and fast reboots. And sometimes
I'm actually
we're
playing
like,
it again. That's funny. I'm literally downloading it right now. The Last of Us Part 2, because
nerd. We had it on the back burner for an episode for a long time of what would each of us reboot and why. And I'm actually really looking forward to this conversation because I think we're all going to have really different answers.
it'd be crazy if we both have the same one. Because we haven't told each other, right? Yeah, I don't think we've
I don't think we're
mentioned-
going to have the same one. It just edged into me. It almost started with it just I could have said that better.
Yep.
I'm okay with going first on this one, and I am going to quickly screen share.
I don't know what the hell this is, but it looks classic.
Bruh, it said it at the beginning. Do I gotta bring it back? Maybe it'll say at the end.
I missed it.
Oh,
I think
it's Kyle Chandler, right? Yeah.
Do you know what
But
this
I
is, Joseph?
Never heard of it. I was probably a
Really?
kid, or I was probably not existing.
Oh, man. Will it say at the end? All right, I'll have to put it at the beginning so you see.
Early edition.
Yeah.
In Chicago.
Do you guys not know about Early Edition?
I've never
No.
heard of this in my entire life.
Wow. All right.
Literally, it came out when I was born, 1996.
Yeah, let me clue you in a bit here. Early Edition is about a man whose cat starts bringing him tomorrow's newspaper. So, he ends up saving people. Like, he uses it to save lives. But it only comes through this newspaper. He has no idea how the cat is getting tomorrow's newspaper. He has two friends helping him. One of them is Fisher Stevens, who's like, come on, why don't you use it to get rich? We can win the lottery. And Kyle's like, no, like, the world is bigger than that. We're not supposed to, like, use it for that. This feels like it's more important. And then, is her name Shanessa? Is that how you say it? Shanessa Davies? Shanesa. Shanesa Davis. She is blind.
Oh, so that's why she was doing it like that.
Yeah, she's blind, but she's actually, like, I watched a few episodes. Really, it's actually really good. I thought it was going to be like a little bit more episodic in a way, but it actually kind of felt like there is an overall arc going through the show of just like, how is this even happening? By episode 3, he's still like, I still don't know how the hell I'm getting this. You know, he's mid-divorce, living in a hotel, like, is kind of new, getting reacquainted with like single life. Kind of like at his lowest point, the cat starts showing up, and he thinks it's, you know, of course he thinks it's like a joke or a prank or something, until he looks up and things he's reading in the paper start coming out as new information on the news right in front of him. And he's like, what the hell? So once he starts putting stuff together, he's like, I can help people like in a way that nobody else can. But I mean, it's new every day. Every day there's new ways he's got to figure out how to save people. There are some things he'll read about he can't do anything about. And I feel like that idea in a time where information travels the way it does now would be so crazy. I think there's a skeleton for something pretty compelling there. And I also find the show to be pretty optimistic, all things considering. It actually is kind of a feel-good show. I think there's a really interesting way to kind of like explore those boundaries of what is it to be too plugged in, what is it to take on too much responsibility? And those are themes that are explored here, but this is not a time where being so plugged in is so commonplace.
It'd be cool if you threw in ChatGPT in there. It's one day he's like trying to write a report. He's looking around. It starts the show. He's typing in, and then it goes to ChatGPT. And then all of a sudden, instead of him typing in the message, ChatGPT types something to him first, and be like, "Wait."
Yeah, like what if a newspaper prints an article wrong because of AI, and he tries to save someone and he can't because the robot printed the article wrong?
That's fire. Yeah.
Like,
you know what? You're on to something. There's actually a lot of really interesting things that can be done with the whole ChatGPT thing, even as far as like, you know, maybe there's a certain point where some sort of, at the culmination of some sort of a what do you call it? Like season or whatever, where some AI starts to notice a certain like the correlation between certain things happening, and is like
between people being saved.
Yeah.
And
it's like slowly narrowing down on.
I've thought
on
about
who the
that.
guy is and...
I've thought about that.
Yeah.
The idea that there's someone out there who puts together what's happening and feels like, whether it's rebooted with Kyle Chandler or whether it's rebooted with someone else getting the newspapers, because part of it is there's a history of people getting these papers. He's not the first one to get them.
Okay, that's interesting.
It's been going on for a while. There's been others who've had them before. In my mind, the structure would be that someone new starts getting the paper, and from like cross country, Kyle Chandler's character puts together what's happening. He starts to see that this same person is in the same place and is like, he must be one of the ones getting the paper. She must be one of the ones getting the paper. They're not, Kyle wouldn't be in like every episode, but like shows up to be like, if you're going to do this, I'm going to tell you right now, this is going to be hard.
He like big bros, you know, them like, hey, yo, like I've been doing this for a while, like this is what you can
something like that. I've been doing this for as long as the game has changed, through the age of the internet rising, through the age of Reddit and X and disinformation, this and that and the other. It was hard, and I know what it's like to have to go through that, and it must be crazy for you to like get started with it during this. Here's my number, call me if you need me. If it were me, one thing that I would personally add is, let's say there is an AI that starts to put together this person is in all these places. Someone feels like this person who's saving people is just getting in the way of the way things are supposed to be.
Yeah, that's a good nemesis.
And it's like you're interfering with the way life is supposed to go. Like, what right do you have to stop these people from getting hurt, to stop these people from dying when their time has come? And it's ugly. And it's not nice, but that's part of what makes life worth cherishing, and you're taking that away from people by getting in the way. I'd have to watch the show more to know if there is a character in Early Edition who's like that. I'm not sure if there is, but it just kind of came to me. I was like, that would be, to me, those are like pretty good questions. When do you let things play out? When do you step aside? When do you interfere? I mean, you got to be a pretty nihilistic person to be like, you shouldn't be saving anybody.
Is traditionally considered as like successful in terms of like
4 seasons,
how long a show lasts. But to me, 4 seasons is pretty damn good.
Yeah, 4 seasons.
To me, in my opinion, that's a long time to be like committed to a character and to a world.
Yeah, flop to me would be obviously a season or two.
1996 to 2000. The genres are high concept comedy, quest, supernatural fantasy, urban adventure, comedy, drama, and fantasy.
Kind of giving me vibes also a little bit of the Steven Spielberg film with Tom Cruise, Minority Report. Like,
yeah, this is definitely more lighthearted. Right. The characters are fun. They're pretty well written. The most one-dimensional it gets is Stephen Fisher being like, come on, we can win the lottery.
Would this be a serious reboot?
Not 100% of the time, no. I'd want there to be some fun and lightheartedness interjected. I don't think it would be like deathly serious all the time, but there's a time for fun and there's a time for serious. And I think there's a lot of meat on this bone. Where back then it's tune into the 5 o'clock news and get tomorrow's paper. Now it's, if a kid goes missing, everyone's phones go off in 3 states.
I think the idea of also putting it in perspective for a modern day reboot, people are numb to news. So like trying to put a character that's also
there's
maybe like an adversary that's numb, or just in general the public, like people are just numb, and he's in a society that he's trying to be the one that cares, that wants to bring out the change. Yeah, because I will be honest, like today's day and age, when you see the news, it's like you just watched a murder, like NCIS TV show. Like we forget that it's reality, and another person got kidnapped. Well, what am I eating tonight? Like it doesn't really hit us. So like it'd be kind of interesting to see a show like this that's literally about the news, about the future, and trying to make a change today, also tackling about something that is very real. And it's like, are we all just numb? Is this just every day for us? And then somebody else who tries to actually make a change with the knowledge that he has. I don't know. That's kind of what came to my mind for like also the messaging of the show, for if they wanted to get deep.
Yeah, like if someone is trying to stop someone from saving these people, like they would have to, maybe not have to. The jaded nihilist, of course, comes to mind. Like that cynic person who's like, sucks, but you gotta let it happen and stay out of the way. I think the original writers, if they're still kicking, they could do it, I think. I would have faith in them to be able to pull this off. Also, I mean, people love cats. I remember there's one episode where the cat just doesn't show up.
Yeah, definitely not Cats the movie.
Yeah, I was like, nobody likes cats.
Yeah, nobody. You open the door and James Corden's there with the newspaper. Oh God, just give it to me.
Hello,
just give
sir.
it. Just give it to me. Just give it. You can go. Give it.
Go.
Just give it. Nope, I don't need the song. James. Just I'll take it. Thank you. But that would be my pick. I think it's a really good show. Streaming it is kind of like difficult.
You can get it for $60, the entire series on Amazon.
Oh, really? Did they put out like a full box set?
Yep, early edition, the complete collection.
I didn't know there was a full one. I thought it was still split into like 4 volumes.
I can start binging it tomorrow because it can be delivered first thing in the morning.
Oh yeah, there it is. Early edition, the complete collection. You can buy it used for $45. I don't know if it like ended proper or if it just got canned. I'm not sure. But the structure for that plot, you could put that in any time. Really? Like it would have worked in the horse and carriage days. That's my choice. Early edition. I'll confess, after I saw the show as a kid, I went years and years and years not thinking about it. But occasionally, Kyle Chandler would pop back up for shows like Bloodlines or Friday Night Lights, particularly Bloodlines. I honestly think, in the same way that way back when we never thought Brendan Fraser might get an Oscar, I think Kyle Chandler's got it in him. I think him and Charlie Day, someday, are going to get like Oscar kinds of recognition. Maybe not in the same movie. Although I'd be down for that. And then he showed up again in the Godzilla movies. Like, he really is an incredible actor. I think he's really good at what he does. And I'm always happy to see him get work. Not going to lie, he has aged very gracefully. He looks great. Like, he honestly doesn't really look like he's aged all that much or unnaturally, really. And, you know, one thing I know I'd want to avoid with this show, I would want to avoid having Kyle's character, the times where he is involved or comes in, don't want him jaded. We have had kind of enough of that. We kind of got that.
Luke Skywalker.
Yeah, I was going to say, we kind of had that with Star Wars. We were like, he's our hero. He's who we looked up to for decades growing up. And he was just like, you and all of this.
hey, I will defend that movie. It's great, except for the casino crap.
I think we need more stories where, like, our heroes didn't give up. Because I feel like...
heroes be the heroes.
Yeah, because I feel like some of us are kind of hitting the place where we feel like we want to give up. And for us to know, even if they're just fictional characters, for them to have kept what made them the heroes we remember, I feel like that's kind of important right now, really. I think that's important for us. I think it's an important message for us to remember, to try to keep those things that shade us from being jaded and cynical or nihilistic. Not want him to be that way.
I personally think Luke Skywalker was an okay version to do that because I thought the execution was good and his redemption was great, but I think like what you just said, the treatment of being jaded for certain characters doesn't always work. Case in example, real quick side note, but it's to cement your point, Tim, is Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny, which is the worst Indiana Jones film. The reason why I say that is because literally it's the same company, it's Disney, trying to take your old favorite heroes And literally, they're old now, which I get. Realistically, you're not going to get 75, 80-year-old Indiana Jones being able to do what he used to, which is what they went for.
Sure.
But I'm like, here's the thing. That's cool. I can respect that. And I almost kind of like the idea of, like, let's put Indiana Jones in a realistic situation. He's not able to do this. But here's the other thing. You just don't need to make the movie then. Because I think a lot of people would agree. They don't want to see their hero be in diapers. They don't want to see their hero actually realistic. Like, they don't want to see them realistically go through these things. We already deal with enough real life crap already. Like, you can do that for certain stories, but then there's other stories where you can just let the heroes be the heroes. So I don't know. Yeah. I agree with that in the sense of, like, not every character needs to be jaded or treated almost, I guess, too realistically. That's just my little rant, and somehow including Indiana Jones. But
it would be really easy. It would be really easy to have Gary Hobson / Kyle Chandler be a very jaded character, having done this for almost 30 years. I'm too busy. I figured it out on my own. You go figure it out on your own. Like, it would be so easy for him to be like, I'm too involved in it to help anybody else. I would want him to really be like, it's too important to ignore. If you really want to get involved with this, I'll help you. Because, I mean, Gary's character has, like, a support system. He has friends who know about it. Even if the paper still comes to him while he's traveling, he can take pictures of it on his phone and send it to them, you know? He could have a whole bunch of people helping him. He could have, like, created a network of people who do... He could be taking pictures of it, putting it on a Discord, and sending it out to people who help people all over the country. There's a lot of ways this character could have gone over the decades, but I would not want Gary to be a jaded guy. Kind of feels like it would be dishonest to the heart of the show. I've readied the wheel. More suspenseful.
Right.
Ooh. Joseph, what would you reboot?
This one, I kind of have two, but one is just literally going to be a comment, and then I will actually I will say the reasons why.
You picking two on us?
I technically did.
You're such a cheater.
Because I just need to mention this one. It's going to be really, really quick. I think we started talking about the idea of doing this episode, 6 months ago?
More.
Or
yeah, something like that.
Let's just say just say a year.
Basically. More.
I want a Back to the Future reboot. I know Robert Zemeckis literally has mentioned this a couple weeks ago. I think it was because he had a movie that came out called Here with Tom Hanks. Really cool concept. I did not like it, but he basically said F off, pretty much about the idea of Back to the Future, which I get because it is one of the best trilogies, I think, back in the 80s, maybe even early 90s when it ended. I think it's a phenomenal trilogy. I actually love every one. It just feels like a timeless film. That's why a lot of people almost don't want anybody to touch it, because it's something that you could just watch today.
Oh, I could see people being really concerned if they brought that back.
Yes. Yeah. But here's what I wish we could do, but I don't think we can anymore unless they change some things. Maybe it's not high school, maybe it's college. If we had Tom Holland and Robert Downey Jr. be Marty and Doc. That's something that has been a fan thing for a long time, but I feel like that would genuinely be really interesting.
Would you want the previous canon to still exist, or would you want, is this a restart? Is this just
I think this is a restart.
Redo.
And yeah, I think it's a restart. I think we can leave the Holy Trinity alone and let this be a new version. Or if they want to get crazy, maybe do a fourth movie. Because The Goonies is getting a sequel 40 years later. They just announced it. Steven Spielberg, Chris Columbus, director of Harry Potter.
I couldn't get into that movie.
Oh, it's so good. It's
really?
Sorry. Yeah.
I love that movie.
I saw it a second time not too long ago too, and it's just not my jam.
It's not that surprising though. There's some people that I've talked to even recently that were like, I don't get the hype. It was fine. I think it's because I grew up with it, so I immediately just was drawn to the story. And it's really cool that I think at least most of the actors in the Goonies are alive. The legit one, I watched it for the first time when I lived back in Puyallup about a couple years ago, and my mind was blown because it was on the top 100 IMDb for a while, but I'm like, do I really want to watch this movie? Do I really want to spend about 90 minutes, I think, or 100 minutes of my life watching this old film when I could watch Revenge of the Sith for the 100th time. I don't know. But I decided to put this on, and this movie was called 12 Angry Men.
Hell yeah! Hell yeah! One of my favorite movies of all time, baby.
It was a life-changing experience because just the amount of attention to detail and quality with the acting, the direction, just how, for me, I'm a fan of movies that if they can hold your attention for even 90 minutes in one setting for pretty much the entirety of a film, you have an amazing director. You have an amazing cast. You have a perfect script. I think that movie is perfect, and it gets better each time as you watch it. I don't know if other people have that same opinion about rewatchability for it, but I think it is one of the best rewatchable films because I feel like I'm finding something new each time.
Incredible movie.
Yeah, it is. And it's funny timing because before, like, that's why I brought it up how long it's been since we've talked about
Now
this.
I see why you thought we might have had the same choice. That makes more sense now.
Yeah.
Because that is one of my favorites.
Because I remember watching your video and I'm like, dang, that'd be really funny if we had the same answer, but we don't, and that's cool because we all have three. It seems like we're gonna have all three different. We don't know yet for sure, but
yeah,
pretty sure we're all gonna have three different answers. But for me, it's 12 Angry Men because it's a story that yet again, like I said about Back to the Future, it's a timeless story. And what I mean by that is it addresses things that are probably sadly never going to be solved. Can we trust the law? Can we trust the judicial system? Can we trust how a jury works? Does everybody has like their own agenda? Everybody, and it's so unique with like you have 12 people in 90 minutes and you have to convince the audience that these aren't just characters, these are people. And I think this is such a great time to kind of accomplish a story that is relevant with social issues today and diversity and how much the court and judicial system has even potentially grown in the last, I don't know, how long has it been since the movie came out? It came out in the 40s?
Came out in 1957. So, it's had, to be fair, it's had a couple of remakes along the way. It had a Russian remake. I don't think they got
enough. They had like a TV miniseries or something, or a TV movie.
It was a radio play once. I think the 1957 version with Henry Fonda is like the second or third version that ever came out. Somewhere around there.
And to me, it's the best one. And I bring it up because you have so many talented men today. Imagine now. This is how.
You know what? Men's rights is a serious issue that needs to be discussed. And what better movie to represent that than 12 Angry Men?
It's Hollywood Today. We're gonna call it 12 Angry People.
12 angry folks. 12 perturbed individuals.
I really hope they... Oh, man, I could see them do that. 12 angry people. Okay, 12 angry men.
But I mean, even if the jury was still all men, there is a message in that. Because lawyers are very picky about some of who they pick for the jury.
Well, it's interesting because Clint Eastwood actually just dropped a film called Juror Number 2 with Nicholas Hoult, J.K. Simmons, and it's almost like his own take on 12 Angry Men. It was actually a really great film, which kind of started to solidify my pick for this topic. Because once I saw that, I'm like, I see you, Clint. I saw what you did.
Yeah,
but I think it could be done better.
I'm pretty impressed with you, Joseph. You're like the action movie guy, this, that, and the other. But here you are.
I love all movies, and like I could literally see myself pulling up Transformers: Dark of the Moon right after I watched that 2-hour slow burn.
Sick, but okay.
I want some Shia LaBeouf, some good old
Normal Tuesday Night for Shia LaBeouf.
I like to think that my palette has been a little more variety than just Transformers movies and Marvel. 12 Angry Men. I already have my fan cast.
Oh boy.
Yep.
Oh boy.
You're gonna hear me say that.
I'm scared. I'm scared. All right. Hold on. Okay, I have a question for you before you pitch this jury to me. What's the case?
Oh, God, I haven't even gotten to that point. I honestly think it would be, I mean, it could be either a girl or a boy, but I like the idea of still dealing with a kid, like a teenager. Maybe not like a kid like 12, but like 17.
I think the kid's
on the verge of being an adult.
I think the kid's 18 in the original.
So like around that, like where they literally like, I mean, yes, he's 18, but they're like, it's just a kid, like all that kind of lingo. I do still like that vibe if I did a good job, because I really tried to think about age and I tried to think about diversity.
Yep.
Here they are: Bradley Cooper.
Okay.
Coleman Domingo.
Okay.
Cillian Murphy.
Oh God.
No, this budget's gonna be crazy. It's gonna be like a $300 million movie for all the Gen Z lovers out there.
Yep.
I'm a millennial. Yep. I love this man. He's one of the best working actors today. He is a future Leonardo DiCaprio. Timothée Chalamet.
Interesting. Okay.
Denzel Washington.
Oh, that man. You're throwing some titans in the ring, man.
Yeah, dude. I'm going, like, you need to like capture.
There were Greek gods, and beyond them were the titans, and we're like throwing Greek gods and titans in the same ring.
Whatever studio owns this movie, I'm just saying, I am giving you like your next big box office gold mine right here. Pedro Pascal.
God, dude.
Andrew freaking Garfield.
Yeah.
Samuel L. Jackson. Tom Hanks.
This is a crazy movie.
This is nuts.
Michael B. Jordan.
Ooh. Okay.
Stephen Yeun.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I like that.
I love Steve. I think he's one of like. I love him. I love it. I love anything that he's in. He should have been in Thunderbolts. He was gonna be in Thunderbolts, but he had to leave. Hopefully, it wasn't because of a bad script, but he had to leave. And the last one, and I'm not saying this is the guy, I'm just saying this is the last one, Robert Pattinson, who is becoming one of my favorite actors of all time.
Yeah, that would be an incredible cast. This cast could be incredible with an almost infinite number of combinations.
Yes.
Like, that is an incredible combination, but there's so many combinations that would be so
The
good.
next Christopher Nolan movie after The Odyssey? I don't know, maybe. Just all these guys.
I would say, I think...
I'm really interested to see, like, what the chemistry would be in that.
I think it depends on what the case is.
Yeah, like, I'm trying to see them all, like, in the same world. You've got some real strong personalities in there, and I'm trying to think of like how some of them would fit with the others, and whether or not those personalities would actually be something that obviously would be leaned into. I'm trying to think like who would be the more contentious ones. Like, I would never think to put all those people in the same room. So it's like damn, that's interesting. Like, I don't think I've ever seen.
All right, you threw a lot of names out at once, so this is going to come off like an odd question, but hear me out and help me out. Who's the oldest white guy you mentioned?
I believe that was Tom Hanks. He's
Tom Hanks.
Good old Papa Hanks.
Gotcha.
I think it's between two guys for me. That it would be and this is somebody that has to carry a lot of weight in their eyes, a lot of weight on their shoulders, and have a perspective that is trying to be open-minded, but also they have a heart. Like, they genuinely don't want to just leave the room. And to me, I think the two people that come to my mind, and this would be in order, it'd be Cillian Murphy or Andrew Garfield.
Yeah.
I think both of them could like manage, especially Cillian, because I mean, with his performance in Oppenheimer, we already saw like a man who just knows how to like carry the weight of literally the size of an atomic bomb in his eyes. Like, he can carry that kind of emotional toll. And as for a story like this, I would want it to be something that is emotional, that is heartbreaking. I don't know what the case would be, but I would want it to be something that does tackle on race or gender, maybe both, I don't know, but something that does speak to today, because for a story like this, it should speak volumes for many people, something that can be relatable, and something that can be relatable for people who are maybe on the opposite side, and then hopefully they can find like congruency and companionship, even if it's hard for them. And I really think Cillian Murphy or Andrew Garfield could really hold that weight and try to like bring the group into alignment. Andrew Garfield's shown like very passionate side in his performance, because I could also see him do that where he sees the humanity in someone. I think Andrew does a really good job in expressing with his abilities with a good script to like give that to the audience and make us feel that way. But if I had to throw in a wild card, and I like the idea of it being a young person, or younger than like, because Killian's not that young, but like if I wanted to go even younger, I'm not saying Timothy.
Oh, I'll do it.
I would think. You would?
I'd do it.
Steven Yeun, I think, would be a good third option to lead the film, because one, I don't think he's ever really led like just like him. I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, but this could give him a chance to like show you're a main lead in a big, like you literally have to go with Bradley Cooper, Coleman Domingo, Samuel Jackson, Pedro, Andrew Garfield, like Academy Award and nominated people, Golden Globe, and this would be a beautiful shot, I think, for him. He's already a Golden Globe winner or Emmy winner for the show Beef, which he was great in. But yeah, if I had to pick a third person, it would be Steven Yeun, because I would want to give him a shot to lead a film, to be the one that like keeps the group in alignment, because he also has that in his eyes too.
Who would be your Henry Fonda for this movie?
Oh, shoot. Well, we flipped it. All those guys, that would be him. That would be Henry Fonda. All the guys that I just said, I thought you were talking about, that is like the main lead. That's what we're talking about.
So the foreman is the one who's like, we're going to take a vote now. He's the one like taking notes, keeping things on paper. He's like facilitating it as it goes along. That's who I was thinking of. Your Henry Fonda would be... So Pedro Pascal would be your kind of like, easily. Okay, everyone, take a seat guy.
Get him in the glasses, like give him the classic look with Pedro's like, I love it. Yeah. No, yeah, like, but then there's like I don't want to say he's the villain, but it's the loudest one who's against him.
That's juror number 3. That is, I think that's Lee J. Cobb, if I'm mistaken. He's the one who this case rings difficult for him, because the case in the original 12 Angry Men is about a son. They're trying to figure out if a son killed his father. That's what the case is deciding, if he's guilty or innocent. And he fell out with his son. His relationship with his son is atrocious. So his bias is pulling him towards believing that the boy is guilty, because he believes that a son can lose their love of their father. And it's too hard for him to put aside.
Yeah, that'd be Denzel. For that character.
Man, he'd kill it. Any of these actors could probably kill it, but Denzel he'd crush it, dude.
But number 2, Bradley Cooper being the guy that's like, no.
Yeah.
I think he would be a phenomenal pick as well. But yeah, Denzel, I think that would be, like what Richard said, that would be a really good fit. And I mean, in my mind, it always was Killian, though, for the Henry Fonda. Him or Andrew, but Killian just knows yet again how to engage the audience,
and he's got
without even a single word.
The glassiest eyes.
Yeah, his eyes tell it all. I mean, another performer that does that really well, he did it in The Batman, is Robert Pattinson. He tells a lot without, like, he just says trauma without even saying trauma. He doesn't have to speak a word. He just says, I'm an emo boy who wants to beat up people because mommy and daddy died. He embodies that really well. To wrap it up, for my pick, 12 Angry Men, I think, would be a phenomenal thing to reboot. Maybe change some things if they want. Yeah. I don't think change the concept of it all takes place in one room, basically, and maybe there's some outside moments, like very briefly, that happen. But other than that, it all stays in the room. They don't need to make it 3 hours long, like how every movie needs to be. Max 2 hours, hour and 40 something minutes. Make it really compelling. Just start right there. Start with the conflict and let's go.
This is not just a top 100 movie. This is a top 5 movie. This is number 5 on IMDb's top 250.
It's a lot. It's a lot to kind of live up to when you're trying to. And obviously, like you said, there were some other things that, and it's already been redone. In different ways, but I don't think it's been touched in a long time. This would be a very interesting time to do a story like this.
Free ad for Tubi. I think 12 Angry Men is on Tubi. I know you'll have ads here and there. That's annoying, but this movie is on Tubi, and it is totally worth watching. The movie's timeless. If it were me, somewhere I would have to throw in either Michael Caine or Anthony Hopkins.
Ooh, yeah.
One of them. Either one of them would be a pretty good foreman. If this movie came out now, people would be like, wow, Henry Fonda's really woke in this movie. He's
super woke.
Yeah, they'd be like, wow, Henry Fonda's totally a soy boy in this movie. My mom, she was like, oh, I watched it on Tubi. I was like, how'd you like it? She goes, it was good. I was like, can you give me a little more? She's like, oh, it was good. It's one of my favorite movies of all time. Give me more. It was pretty good. I was like, you're sadistic, Mom. That is totally a dream team cast. Like you're picking like 12 S-class actors to sit at that table.
Do it for $5 million, right? Like, let's just say $5 million is okay for them. That's like a lot of money just for the cast. You're not talking about production budget,
dude. $5 million. You'd be lucky if you got one of them for $5 million.
But that's the thing. There are some actors that are willing to like really take some pay cuts, especially if it's a story.
If it's a meaningful, yeah.
Exactly. That's why if a studio head is watching this or a future writer who feels inspired, you're like, you know what? I'm gonna do that.
To be fair,
make it great.
We do live in a time, and I think movies have always kind of been this way, but there's a lot of movies now where it's like, oh, so-and-so's in this? I want to see it. So-and-so's in this? I want to see that. And having these kinds of names in a movie, in and of itself, would probably get a lot of people in the theater to see it.
That is exactly why having, like, when you have a spec script or whatever, like, one of the first things to do when you're trying to get greenlit is to, find a producer that, like, has a name or whatever, but also an actor, like...
Yeah.
That's able to do, you do little deal memos or whatever else. Like, that's what gets movies greenlit at the end of the day. That's how you have all these garbage movies that are everywhere, but you have, like, this, like, A-list actor or whatever. Like, the whole movies get made off of the names that are attached to it. For that exact point, Tim, of, like, people see... Because they don't know any of these, like, super great actors. So it's like, oh, I've got so-and-so and so-and-so. It's like, okay, that's cool, but... If you can get people who are decently well known, then it's like, okay, yeah, sure. Because we know more than likely, like, there's a baseline return. Because that's the kind of, like, calculations that they do. Like, okay, anything this actor is in, usually we're going to get this return. Even if it ends up being, like, a, quote, flop, we'll at least make, this amount of money.
It's my pick,
Great
baby.
pick, Joseph. Great pick.
That's my pick.
I'm with you on that 100%. So you want me to spin the wheel, or do you want me to just tell you it's you, Rich?
Spin it, baby. 100 out of 100. Let's go. Run it up.
Somehow it's Tim again.
Right. Yeah, this is easy.
Easy.
The Acolyte.
Oh.
What? The show's not even done.
It is. They got canceled, man. Within like a month or two, they canceled that ish real quick. They're like, yeah, we're done. That's crazy. Dude. I did not expect that.
That's more of a redo.
Oh, yeah.
That's more of a redo than a reboot.
Let's try this again.
Yeah, because the thing about it is there was so much there that they could have done, and they fumbled it. They fumbled it hard. They had, like, some good characters in there, some good actors, some cool concepts, but then, like, they just screwed it up in, like, unsalvageable ways. Like, I was one of the people that, because I remember during that time, like, bro, I wish they gave it, like, one more season to, like, just correct, like, make the adjustments. You know what I mean? Like, y'all got slammed. There's some things that y'all did that was, like, dumb, but I felt like there was so much there. Like, I wish they just had another season to correct this stuff. Yeah, I wish there could be a reboot of that. I wish that they can have certain people reprise roles, because I feel like, again, there are people that did really well in it, and I hate that they got screwed at the end of the day. I feel like a lot of people got screwed. Disney, like, it's one and done. Like, it's burnt. Like, they're not...
Yeah. Right.
Because they work on this model of, whatever we do is canon. That's one thing that I will say about, I mean, there's a lot of things I could say about Lucas. Like, I was obsessed with him for a while, actually. But one of the things that I really appreciated about Lucas. You know, he wasn't the greatest director in the world. Some would say he was really not that great of a director. He just had really good people around him. He didn't really know how to direct actors. You know, just based on even some of the things that he said. He didn't believe he was the best in that kind of way. All that aside, though, one thing I feel like he got right was being open to other people taking ideas and just running with them and letting them do different things. There's more liveliness to the world. There was stuff that was like janky, things that didn't necessarily fit, because this person wrote this, that person wrote that, and then there was a game that conflicts with this, and you know, it was like, yeah. But it had charm to it. You know, it had real charm to it. And I feel like, to be honest, going on kind of a side note with that, I feel like we're at a point where people want to return to charm. I think even hitting on just that idea of like wanting to return back to a time where heroes could be heroes, I feel like we're going back to a time where people want to see risk again in films. We want to see, directors and studios. We want to see them take risks and try new things. And I think that we're at a time as well where people want to see genuine feelings in films and in TV, you know? Even when things seem a little like not necessarily like clean cut or whatever. I feel like it's part of why, I mean, nostalgia is, you know, is a drug, but even that aside, like, I feel like it's part of why we see 80s movies and 90s movies as so great. I mean, number one, it was a golden age.
Do you feel like the show dropped the ball with the lore or with the story? I feel like those are kind of two different things. Because a lot of people were mad that the show went back into the past and changed or added such and such, and it made things about the Force different or irrelevant or inaccurate.
I understand people's issues with the lore aspect of it. I'll say because I wasn't necessarily so tied to and steeped in the traditions of what they call now legends. It was okay for me. I will say, however, the execution of some of those things was a little cringe. The whole Plagueis thing, right? Was that Plagueis? Or who was that?
That was Plagueis.
Yeah. It was just like, all right, dog. Like, the thing is like, even if they wanted to do that, like, literally just the CGI of it just looked low-key garbage. And I feel sorry for, to all the animators that worked on that, the artists that worked on that, but like, that just, it looks so out of place. It looks so out of place, you know what I mean? Without that, they had a way better story going on. I mean, there's a whole thing with the, with the twins. Like, again, there are things about that could have worked. Just some of the writing for that was just like, why? Why?
The Immaculate Conception. Wasn't someone in the show like immaculately conceived, and it just kind of like took the meaningfulness of Anakin away?
Here's the thing.
That was my issue with the show too. Was that
it's like there's a realm in which that could have, I think, existed, and it could have been explained in a way where it doesn't take away from Anakin and his importance. There's a way that they could have done it, but the show as it existed, there's no way that they could have done that. There's no way, right? Like, the show as they made it, like, there's nothing that they could have, like, said or done that could have not made it seem like, oh yeah, like, it just happens. Like, it happened before Anakin, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, there's just weird stuff with the way that they wrote it that really bothered me, because they had some cool characters, and they had good actors in those characters too. I felt like, unfortunately, I feel like they just got screwed. I feel like they got screwed, man. They got so screwed, and it bothers me. This is probably this might literally be the only show that I've ever watched that I felt like I just wish they would immediately do this over again. I literally wish they would do this over again, because there's so much here. Like, I'm so mad that we'll never get now I forget the name of his character, but the OG Sith.
Yes, I forget his name too.
I'm so mad, because he was so good in it, and now we'll never get that again.
Yeah, he was the only good character.
Exactly. He was a good character. I'm so pissed. Like, they screwed him. Like, it could have been a really, really big thing for him too, you know, because I think a lot of people know him from The Good Place. You know, he's acted in other stuff, but that was a really big role for him. And so to be able to see him in something like that is like a total, you know, different thing. Yeah, I'm so mad. There's so many cool things that they were doing, you know, with the dark side and seeing the build up of that, like the helmet, like just so many things, man. And that's why for me, I'm like, if there's one thing I'd give a reboot, it would be The Acolyte. And we need people going to write well. We need the charm back, bro. Like, we need the charm back. Episode 7 felt good. And I know everyone felt a certain way about it feeling good is because it copied the formula of, you know, A New Hope and blah, blah, blah. I get it. But it felt good. Like, we can't lie. It felt good.
Yeah. And I mean, I feel you, Richard, because it was a show that I wanted to love. Like, the concept of it was released years ago. They failed in that concept miserably. They failed miserably because what they wanted to do was be like, but are they bad? Stop that. Good and evil. That was my big issue too. It's like Disney was trying to do that yet again with Last Jedi. I think they succeeded for the most part. But then they're trying to do it yet again. And I think that's like the whole, like the cool thing to do with like heroes or villains is, are they really a good person? Are they really a bad guy? It's like, dude, shut up. The Sith, the Jedi, stop trying to make them into creepy old Catholic priests that have been like, that's literally how I took it. I'm like, they're trying to make the Jedi system into the Catholic system. Like, literally, they're like, hey kids, we want to train you.
Oh no,
mommy and daddy, or mommy and mommy, like the whole witch tribe. That's literally what the vibes were given. They're like, hey, shut up, parents. We want the kids to come with us. Like, if anybody, I don't know, that I think I know I'm not the only one. I literally was talking to somebody on Discord about it a while ago. It's like, yeah, they made him into creepy priests. Like,
there are some things the Catholic Church do that some would consider unnatural.
Oh no, because I can go on a rant too. I literally have like an hour and a half stream of me ranting about it. I fully agree with you. I think it was a misfire, and there was a lot of good things in the sense of concepts. There were some good executions, like the cool thing in episode 5 where he kills that one girl. That was amazing. That whole fight scene was great.
Does he retract the saber and use it as almost like,
I think he turns it off
a firearm?
It's like,
because I know that's like supposed to be like against the code of the Jedi and the Sith, like, because the Jedi are like no honor and the Sith are like no balls.
I think the idea was that he literally off on 3 times.
Yeah,
which is something I never really thought of in a fight scene, which is something
they did cover
really
that.
Creative.
I don't know where they covered it in the lore, but they did by basically saying like, so I mean, if 2 lightsabers are coming at each other, the idea is one person is bracing for the other saber to hit, but they're gonna turn it off and turn it back on when it's behind the other one, and when it's advantageous to kill them. And good guys are like, you have no soul, and bad guys are like, you got no dick if you do that. And which I find interesting because I get it. I get the honor argument. At the end of the day, one of you is going to live and one of you is going to die. So I find it interesting that more characters kind of like haven't done that.
It's a character that was very interesting in concept, and I think in some of the execution, I don't think the best character was perfect, but the concept of he kind of just wanted to do... He kind of pulling a Kylo Ren, honestly. Kylo Ren was like, F the Sith, F the Jedi, join me, boo. Yeah. This was kind of the same thing, almost, when you think about it. It honestly hurts my brain thinking about the show because there was so much hype for it, but then when hearing about all the reviews that dropped before the reactions, then watching it, I didn't care. I was like, I'm still going to watch it. I don't really care. I like the concept. Oh, God, what happened? You spent $210 million or $180 on this, and it looks like shite. I don't understand how studios can greenlight stuff like this. Ran over. I agree with you. I think it'd be a cool idea to maybe try another story like this. Like, I'm cool with let's do the Sith again, but do it right. Like, let's tell it in the perspective of the Sith. Like, let's be evil, not let's follow in which tribe twin thing that doesn't really make any sense. It actually undermines Anakin Chosen One arc and pisses off a lot of fans. This is what happens when you try to subvert expectations in a franchise that people don't want their expectations subverted. They don't want a moment where, oh, Rey's a nobody. Just kidding. She's actually a clone Palpatine.
Yeah. Oddly enough, I was okay with her being a nobody. To me, it's almost more hopeful that she's a nobody because it says that anybody could be. I know, but to me, that's the more optimistic message. Richard, would you keep the same cast?
Probably like half of them I really enjoyed, and the other ones like not so much. Like, I'm not gonna lie, again, I feel like they didn't get a fair shake, but at the same time, I really was not a fan of the performance, and that is the lead. Maybe I'm alone in that, but
no, you're not.
I was just like, I'm not feeling her as a lead. I feel like I feel like the way they wrote her was dumb. Yeah, just number 2, something about her performance felt like she wasn't from the same world, the same universe. Like
she wasn't from Star Wars?
It's like, yes.
Oh.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. I feel like, and that's another thing that I'll say about Star Wars. I'll say it quickly and then I'll hop off of it. But there is a certain cadence and a certain melody to good Star Wars dialogue and writing. There's a certain way that it is written and also performed, and I feel like it kind of goes back to, again, a bit of that charm. There's something to the way, especially the original trilogy was written, but then even when you go to the prequels, right, and it goes to that united vision all the way through. But I feel like you can tell when certain actors kind of just get it and they feel like they're a part of the Star Wars world. And I feel like there are other ones that, while they might be good actors, there's something about their performance, something about their delivery that does not feel like it sits in that world. And I felt that way about her performance. Again, I feel like she wasn't done any justice. Her story, like, I feel like the story that they even gave her was like just low-key dumb. Like,
So you think the actress got hampered by script?
Yes, I feel like that's number one, and I feel like number 2, she either was just not cast correctly, or she just was not directed correctly, because she did not match that world. So
you can take out her character altogether, honestly. You follow the Master Jedi and the alien chick, and they go on an investigation for a Sith that is also the other lead, not the stupid sister thing. You get rid of that whole arc, the show is a lot better.
Literally, Lindsay and I were watching it together. Either we were watching it together, or I was watching it and then she came in a couple of times. And she would tell you that, like, literally I got so bothered and annoyed anytime she came on the screen. I was like, why are we back? She just was so annoying as a character. So annoying. And she would make the dumbest decisions. And it's just like, bro, like, why did y'all write it like this? Why? Like, they fell into the trap of, instead of writing a dynamic character, and instead of like writing a character that had actual internal conflicts and that actually, bumped their heads, not just because they like doing dumb things, but because they actually had a certain worldview that they had to reckon with, and that's part of what the story is about. They instead was just like, yo, let's make it to where every time someone says something to her, she just does the opposite, and it's clearly the wrong thing to do.
Yeah.
Or let's every time an obstacle comes, let's make her do the dumbest thing possible, and that's how we create tension. That's how you make a main character that is completely unlikable. And if there's any time that I would just put something on mute, that would be the time that I would put something on mute. That would be the time that I walk away and I start doing dishes, of all things. That would be the time I start doing chores or start doing homework. I would love for that to get a reboot. I feel like all those people got screwed, and I feel like they need to, like they would just need to, they need better writing on that, and they need to get the execs out of the writing room. They need to get them out of there. Like I feel like they really wanted to make this work. They're trying to venture into a territory, because you know them. They have a whole thing planned and mapped out of they want this to lead it and blah blah blah. And I feel like they bet the house on it, and it just sucked. I feel like it suffered because of it, and yeah. So that's my thing. Also, I'd love to see another Columbo. That's my favorite show of all time.
I like that each of us had a totally different definition of reboot. Like, I chose something and I kept the lore, and I was like, I want it to continue. I want it to get, like, rebooted, pick it back up, but keep what we had. Joseph is like, remake a timeless masterpiece with a new cast, because the story is timeless, and you could put this story at any point in history, and it still is super meaningful. And Rich is like, erase this show from the face of the earth and start it from the ground up. Like, we came with totally different definitions of what a reboot even is.
Yeah, I think it's hilarious, because it's like, that literally just came out, and we're like, reboot that right now.
Thanks for watching the reboot episode of our Rebooted podcast.
We got renewed for another season, but
we did.
Who knows why?
We got picked up for more funding, a.k.a. us. It's just us, and the funding is our time.
Right.